Hi, I'm Trina Sunday. I'm the founder of Reimagine HR, and we are all about new thinking and approaches that can be brought to HR and how we reinvent our people practices. So, innovation is everything in the consulting, coaching, and training work that we do with HR and business leaders. When I think about innovation, I think about lots of different things. I think about embracing opportunities. I think about those giant innovative leaps I've had in my own personal life where I've said yes to everything that's been outside my comfort zone. And that's what I think innovation is, right? It's about pushing boundaries and pushing where we would otherwise think that our limits are to be able to do something different. And to do that, I think that there is a need for us to have self-awareness over, ourselves, but also the culture that we work in, and really for that to co-evolve. So what I mean by that is, if we want to innovate, we need to critically examine ourselves and the organizations we work in and the work that we do to understand how it rolls and to look at ways of improving it and improving ourselves. And we can't do that if we don't take the time to actually examine how we're doing, right? Because innovation will only come from us moving forward. We need to know where we're coming from to be able to do that well. And so for me, innovation is not always about inventing things. In your industry, that might be the case. But for us and all of us as leaders, it's about figuring out how and where you can add unique value. And so you can think about that from your own personal space and career journey. What's your unique selling proposition? What is unique about you and what value do you add that you can bring to the table? But also for your team in terms of how you position yourself in the organization. And so a lot of the time it can be a matter of how fast can you unlearn things, relearn, master new skills. That's where the sweet spot is for me in terms of innovation. It's understanding that uniqueness and knowing how to tap into it. Now, innovation is critical, right? Everyone says that, but for me, it's super important. And I think recent times have highlighted that, right? We've had a lot of disruptive challenges. They've been broad reaching, unrelenting, whether it's the COVID-19 pandemic, where we are economically, supply chain challenges, geopolitical issues. There's lots going on, right? And it can be quite disorientating for a leader. And so for leaders to embrace complexity and ambiguity and to tackle unsolvable challenges, leaders need to innovate. And innovation is the most important. It's the most important way for companies to accelerate change. So in my opinion, what comes with that is that there's a widening gap between the aspiration that executive teams have for innovation and their ability to execute. So if you're tapping into innovation as a leader now and really leaning in to develop that in yourself, there's a good chance you have more mindfulness over what good leadership looks like than some of the people that might be above you in your organization. And it's not about structures and processes. That's not the solution. Humans are the solution when it comes to innovation. It's about our people and it's about our culture. That's what enables innovation. If you have a culture in your organization that's blame-oriented, avoids making decisions, that's not a place that people are going to want to experiment. There's no tolerance for failure. And if there's not that safe space for failure and experimentation, people are not going to put their head above the parapet and put out new ideas, some of the time crazy, the things that are what we need to be able to free up our thinking, to be able to broaden our thinking, to be able to do things differently. So innovation is a core driver for growth and performance and valuation. So as leaders, it's absolutely critical. When I think about practical ways of how we can level up in that space and how you can show up as a leader that innovates, I do think about vertical development. So I think what I mean by that is I think about purposely seeking out the perspectives of the people above you who have had input and involvement in more complex and interconnected challenges across your organization that you might have been exposed to. Seek them out. It's about interacting purposely with more people, but not people who are like you. If I hung out with people that were like me all the time, I would get more of me. I know me. I know what I think like. I know what I bring to the table. Diversity of thought is what's going to give a different perspective. And so for me, if we look at our organizations, there's a lot of same, right? So as leaders, we need to intentionally create networks that give us more diversity. People that come from different backgrounds, different ages, different genders, different orientations, different professions, all that good stuff. That means that people look at the world differently. If they look at the world differently, they may look at the world in a more in tune way than you do when it comes to your customer. And that's another thing that I would look at. It's daily efforts to understand your business. So knowing what's happening and what your business environment looks like is really critical. And so it's about having business conversations and understanding what performance looks like. What is the bottom line, the share price, what is the language that is used? Because your innovation as a leader needs to tap into how you're going to deliver on those outcomes. And so for me, a lot of that is having empathy for your end customer. I find as leaders and as employees, sometimes we can be so far removed from our end customer that we've lost connection with why it is that we do what we do. And innovation is only going to be successful if it's going to be ultimately solving that end customer problem. So it's not about putting yourself in their shoes. They're not your shoes. Please take off their shoes. Only your customers have had their experience that's got them to where they are, but you can put yourself in their emotional state. What is the problem that you're trying to solve? What is the relief? What is the joy? What is the convenience? What is it that we're aspiring to bring that our innovation needs to enable? I think as leaders, we can also do something really practical, and that is Forbes, I think, call it exercising your imagination muscle. I think that was what someone called it in the article, but it's about creating the muscle memory where ask your team 5 different alternate ways that they might be able to solve a problem. And you can do this for yourself. If you're faced with a problem as a leader, what are 5 different ways that I could address this issue, that I could solve this problem? A lot of the time we limit ourselves to 2. So if you create a space where you are creating a habit to come up with 5 different solutions every time you're faced with a problem, you're going to be forcing your mind and your imagination to stretch. You will build a different imagination muscle memory that's going to add more value and allow you to innovate, and it will just become habitual. It will become instinctive because you do it over and over. Create that habit for your team. And then when you have your team meetings, put innovation on the agenda. Create space for your team to purposely, intentionally, and proactively bring you ideas that are outside of the hamster wheel of how are we going on those KPIs? We're so busy, we're busy. Innovation doesn't happen when, as leaders, we reinforce, enable, and create this space of busyness and run around looking super important. We need to create a space for thinking, and we need to create a space for generating ideas. That means taking the shackles off and saying, let's freestyle it, team. Anyone got any ideas or fresh thinking they want to bring to the table? And don't limit it. It's the brainstorm kind of idea, right? If you create space for it, people will feel more comfortable to raise it. That will then start happening outside of your meeting spaces. The other thing I would say to close this out is probably, sharing with you, I think it's about, as leaders, putting a flashlight on trends. So innovation is about staying ahead of the curve, right? Now, that can sound like a really restrictive information diet of books and articles and alerts and reports and podcasts, and it can be too much. I can't absorb all that. I'm busy. There's lots for us to do. Divide and conquer, my friends. Get the team involved in it. Create that space of, we want to stay ahead of the curve. We want to understand what trends. Get people to be looking for it and to bring it into your innovation space when you have your next team meeting. You don't have to do all the research, but as the leader that's driving innovation, what you can do is connect the dots. So when your team is bringing all that intel into a conversation, I see that this organization is doing this, or I've heard that this technology is happening over here. I think that could be really cool if we looked at how we might adapt that. You're the one as a leader that can help connect those dots together and make those ideas forge into something that might be able to be implemented, or a change that can be driven. It's something that I'm responsible for in Reimagine HR, right? In terms of watching what's happening in the people space culture, what innovation's happening in HR. So I would encourage you to look at that. I wish you well in your leadership journey. Innovation is absolutely one of the most wonderful and fundamental spaces for you to lean into. So I wish you good luck. Thanks.